Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaः. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapanantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Timale Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Kucharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Deshatarine Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasinubhyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gayanam Namaskrityanam Chaiva Narottam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Virayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Thank you all for being here present and being present online to attend the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Pray for the blessings of all the devotees, especially the senior devotees, to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, present the topics faithfully and with whatever realization, personal realization I can find in my heart. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 75, text 16. And the text is, the chapter is called Duryodhana Humiliated. So we're reading about the aftermath of the Rajasuya sacrifice. We're hearing about Yudhishthira Maharaj taking his bath, his ritual bath after the ceremony. And then there's going to be some joyful pastimes exchanged between Yudhishthira and Krishna and the other Pandavas and many other family members. Celebration of the successful completion of the yajna. So we'll hear about that today. Anandi Bihar, can you pull it up on the screen? Text 16. So the devotees can read along.
I'm biking. Jeff Reckler, Prabhu, can you pull up the verses? I put them in the chat. There, thank you.
16. Right. Yes. Ukta nirvir niragamam upalabdumeta devyo yata divivimana vanendri devyo tamatule sakhivi parisichamana savridahasa vikasat vadana virejuhu. Translation. Surrounded by guards, King Yudhishthira's queens came out on their chariots to see the fun, just as the demigods' wives appeared in the sky in celestial airplanes. As maternal cousins and intimate friends sprinkled the queens with liquids, the ladies' faces blossomed with shy smiles, enhancing the queen's splendid beauty. Purport. The maternal cousins referred to here are Lord Krishna and such brothers of his as Gada and Sarana, and his friends mentioned, and the friends mentioned are such persons as Bhima and Arjuna. 17. Translation. As the queens squirted water from syringes at their brothers-in-law and other male companions, their own garments became drenched, revealing their arms, breasts, thighs, and waists. In their excitement, the flowers fell from their loosened braids. By their charming pastimes, they agitated those with contaminated consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada writes, such behavior between pure males and females is enjoyable, but persons who are material contaminated become lustful. The emperor mounted upon his chariot, drawn by excellent horses, wearing golden collars, appeared splendid in the company of his wives, just like the brilliant Rajasuya sacrifice, surrounded by its various rituals. Purport. King Yudhishthira with his queens appeared like the personified Rajasuya sacrifice, surrounded by its beautiful rituals. So yes, we'll stop here. So it's a very interesting scene here. Jagannath Priyaprabhu is a long-standing brahmachari Rinachit. How would you feel if you see like a bunch of men and women throwing liquids at each other and the bodily features are being displayed? How Yes, he's very transcendental, festivity. Yes, he's transcendental in consciousness, but there were some who were not so transcendental. It said here that Maladhyam, in fact, verse 17, Maladhyam, Shobham Dadhu Maladhyam, but this created agitation in the hearts of those who had dirty consciousness, Maladhyam, whose consciousness was not purified. What purified it? What? Lust. What is that? Mala is lust. So they're looking. So what's happening? And Prabhupada describes this more actually, Krishna book. So maybe it was described earlier. Oh yes, it's described actually in text 15. How this was not only water which was being thrown, they were throwing yogurt mixed with turmeric and saffron and kumkum powder. And this was all thrown at each other very joyfully. So, and then the queens of Yudhishthira I don't know exactly who these queens are. Draupadi was definitely one of them, but he's another. I believe another two wives, and I would guess, educated guess here, that also all the other persons who were present, Bhima, Arjuna, Krishna, and all Krishna's brothers, which are the sons of Devaki, which were killed by Kamsa, but then later brought back to life. So all these various personalities, they also had their wives with them, uh, likely, or at least some of them. So, and they were all like throwing things at each other. We still see this kind of display during the Holy Festival in Vrindavan, where also powders are thrown, but they also have syringes. And nowadays, you don't really want to be on the streets in this festival. First of all, you get soaked in chemical dyes, and also especially in Vrindavan, they fill the syringes from the sewers often.
Oh.
So it's kind of like the perverted reflection of this very joyful and transcendental celebration. So yeah, actually, because this festival is also performed by Krishna, and it's one of the main festivals of Braja from Krishna's pastimes. It's a beautiful lecture by Indrajumna Swami. Actually, several lectures where he describes these pastimes, how Krishna and the gopis and the gopas, they perform this holy, but it's all very. It's a festival of love. And nowadays it can be performed very aggressively, and people nowadays, like if you go to Vrindavan, a lot of people get drunk, even in Vrindavan itself, and yeah, and it becomes a very rowdy thing. But it's actually meant to be a very, very sweet exchange of love, the throwing of the powders, the squirting from the syringes. So that's what's happening here. It's a very sweet exchange of love. They've just completed this very elaborate sacrifice, which is compared to like a great ocean, which is very difficult to cross. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he's glorified later on, we hear this very soon, because of his unflinching devotion to Lord Krishna. Because he's mentioned later on, he's Haridasa. He's the servant of Lord Hari. Because of his unflinching devotion, he was able to perform this very, very difficult ceremony to perform. I don't know the details of the ceremony, but you can understand from the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is one of the most, if not the most difficult yajna to perform, because you have to get the buy-in from all the kings. Then it's very elaborate rituals. You need very expert brahmanas. You need lots of wealth to distribute to everyone. So it's a very difficult thing to perform. Yudhishthira Maharaj just performed this not for his self-aggrandizement, but for the glorification of Lord Krishna. In this assembly of all the great kings and demigods and sages, his whole intention was to put Krishna on that seat of the highest honor, and so he took all this trouble just for that, just for once and for all make clear to everyone present in the world at the time and for all the ages thereafter that Lord Krishna is the most worshipable personality. So it was a very, very difficult feat to perform. It took a lot of endeavor, a lot of effort, and it came out very successful. Krishna was all the rituals were completed very nicely. Everybody was very happy. Everybody was thrilled. And more than anything, Lord Krishna was duly glorified and his intention was fulfilled. And so naturally, there's a great sense of relief and joy and happiness, which is being expressed in this throwing of liquids. And we may think, why is this in Srimad Bhagavatam? Why is this even relevant? Destroying of substances on each other. Oh, because Lord Krishna is right there. He's participating. It's also part of his pastime. And it's an expression of love for Krishna. It's what's called an anubhava. It's an from the joy of their hearts. Their joy is the worship of Krishna. Their joy is the ecstasy that Krishna has been glorified. And this is expresses itself. That joy within the heart, that ecstasy within the heart is expressing itself in this kind of exchange of throwing these different substances upon each other. Just like we hear about the coward men in Vrindavan when Krishna was born. They're also so joyful. They had this whole festival. They're also like throwing butter and yogurt at each other. There's also an expression of the great joy of Krishna's appearance. So sometimes bhakti, manifests in these very, very special ways. So that is what it is here. And although we hear about that the queens, they were, of course, they were like extremely beautiful ladies, like the kind of beauty you don't see common, like it's like demigod or higher level beauty, especially like someone like Draupadi. She's an as far as I remember, correct. She's a partial expansion of the goddess of fortune, and the other queens as well. They're very, very highly qualified celestial ladies. Want to speak of the queens of Lord Krishna, who are Lakshmi, all goddesses of fortune. So the beauty displayed by these ladies was very amazing, and especially I can imagine that upon seeing that, you know, the bodily features being displayed, that there was agitation by those who did not have love for Krishna, enough love for Krishna in their hearts. And that's the amazing thing, that those who did, they were not at all agitated. They could not, their minds could not be disturbed at all. Why?
Total absorption.
Yes. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva. Because they are seeing the beauty of Krishna. And not just seeing externally. Many people saw the beauty of Krishna, but they saw with the Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochane, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu. They saw with the eyes of love. It says that according to the mirror of your love, Krishna, you can actually see Krishna. If your love in the heart is compared to like a mirror, according to that love, you can more clearly see and appreciate Krishna's beauty. That's why Lord Chaitanya took the position of Sri Radha, because her love is like the most clean, pristine mirror on which Krishna's beauty perfectly reflects. So all the people assembled here who were engaging in this intimate pastime, those who did not have love in their hearts for Krishna, their minds were agitated with some lusty feelings. But those who did have love, they were not agitated, because their hearts are thrilled by the beauty of Krishna and could not be agitated otherwise. So that's why the Gita says, Param Drishtva Nivartate. By experiencing the supreme beauty, Param Drishtva Nivartate, one can see from all other. That's probably beautifully describes in the purport that one who was seeing the beauty of Lord Krishna cannot be attracted by pale material things. So, and then of course the example, and so many examples in the Shastra. Can you think of a prime example of someone who saw amazing beauty but was not agitated?
Sukadeva Goswami.
Yes, he was definitely on that level. Anywhere? Haridas Thakur, yes. Oh, thank you. That's the example Prabhupada was giving. Vishwamitra, he was doing all these very intense austerities, like for thousands of years. And then this Menaka appeared and just started to dance a little bit, and just the sound of her ankles was like so attractive that agitated his mind. He wasn't even seeing. It was just the sound, which was like enough to break his meditation. And then Haridas Thakur, Maya Devi herself came before her and then appeared like, you know, it was a beautiful night, the breezes were blowing, carrying the fragrance of the flowers, and the breezes blew in such a way that it kind of revealed her bodily form features. And Haridas Thakur was just like so absorbed, he could not be, because again, there's nothing in the heart, which heart is purified. Why do we get agitated? It's because of many experiences from many lifetimes. Many vasanas are there in the heart. Many impressions are there in the heart. But when we come in contact with certain sense objects, which we have attraction for many lifetimes, then immediately that is awakened within us. The attraction becomes awakened. Desire becomes awakened to enjoy the same sense of objects, which we have enjoyed for thousands and thousands of lifetimes. So, but when that's not an easy feat to purify that fully. It's only like on the stage of higher stages of bhakti, bhava, and then ultimately prema. That's like fully, those vasanas become fully purified. So, but those who didn't have the vasanas were burnt, purified. They didn't have that. Their hearts weren't agitated, even in contact with the most attractive features, such as Haridas Thakur, such as the. And there's a beautiful verse in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 10. It describes the Vaikuntha. It's a very nice description. I won't read all the verses, but it describes how the Vaikuntha Vasis, they fly around in their airplanes, and there's beautiful forests, there's so many beautiful birds, and beautiful plants and flowers. There's cuckoos, there's cranes, there's swans, parrots, peacocks, and all of them are birds, they sing, but they're all singing the glories of the Lord. But sometimes the bees start to buzz and sing their glorification of Lord Narayan. And then all the birds, they be quiet and they listen to the beautiful sound of the glorification of the bees. This is how Vaikuntha is described. So, and everybody, even the Vaikuntha Vasis, the male forms, they are like Narayana, they're beautiful forms, but they also have their consorts, which resemble Lakshmi. So they're almost on the same level of beauty as Lakshmi Devi. So, so then it's described. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text 20. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha travel in their airplanes made of lapis lazuli, emerald and gold, although crowded by their consorts, who have large hips and beautiful smiling faces. They cannot be stimulated to passion by their mirth and beautiful charms. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, it is specifically mentioned here that a woman's large hips are very attractive and they stimulate a man's passion. But the wonderful feature of Vaikuntha is that although the women have large hips and beautiful faces and are decorated with ornaments of emeralds and jewels, the men are so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that the beautiful bodies of the women cannot attract them, and vice versa, of course. In other words, there is enjoyment of the association of the opposite sex in Vaikuntha, but there's no sexual relationship. The residents of Vaikuntha have a better standard of pleasure, so there's no need of sex pleasure. So it's described how these Vaikuntha Vasis, they're also like constantly like absorbed in remembering Krishna and chanting. They're glorifying. They are chanting beautiful prayers. They are chanting the name of Krishna. And that they're so thrilled in ecstasy of that's why nothing attracts them otherwise. Nothing can really, they have, as Prabhupada said, they have a better standard of pleasure. So there's no need for it. So these are all beautiful descriptions which really can give us a glimpse in the beauty of transcendence. And we have to always hear, otherwise, like we can artificially try to renounce the beauty of this material world in all its various features, but we cannot unless we get this glimpse into the transcendental world, into Krishna's transcendental pastimes and the transcendental beauty of Lord Krishna and the loving exchanges of him and his devotees. That is the great facility we also have, the great blessing we have, that we have the opportunity to hear about something better, and therefore can give up the attraction and beauty of this world. And even if we still have so many vasanas in the heart that is to be understood, that doesn't go so quickly, and we may sometimes become agitated by certain things. That's also to be expected, or attracted by sense objects. But no, we just have to keep on hearing, keep on with the process, keep on purifying our hearts, and take shelter, really take shelter in those experiences we have of transcendence, of those glimpses we get through hearing the Shastras, through worshipping the deity, and in this way, like develop a higher attraction. Srila Prabhupada, therefore, and the acharyas very much recommend deity worship because it gives us that facility to exchange with Krishna and to see his beautiful form and cultivate attraction. So, yeah, I'll read just the remaining verses. So this is text 19. The priests led the king through the execution of the final rituals of Padni Samyaja and Avabritya. So Padni Samyaja is described as the ritual performed by the sponsor of the sacrifice and his wife, consisting of oblations to Soma, Twashta, these are different demigods, the wives of certain demigods, and Agni. So Yudhishthira and Draupadi, perhaps his other wives, were led by the priests to perform rituals to these different demigods. And these demigods are worshipped in Vedic sacrifice, but with the proper understanding is not that they're independent of the Supreme Lord, they're like limbs of the Lord. That's the proper mood in which such sacrifices are performed. They had him and the queen sip water for purification. We do also, we take achama before we go on the altar. So we can read here, this is a very ancient practice. Also performed in those days. And they, so they sip water for purification and they have them bathed in the Ganges. Prabhupada mentioned here that this is Indraprashta, which is in the area of Delhi. So actually it's the Yamuna flowing there, but the Yamuna apparently in those days was also known as the Ganga.
Yeah.
Not sure the reason for that, but The kettle drums of the demigods resounded, along with those of human beings. Demigods, sages, forefathers, and humans all poured down showers of flowers. All the citizens belonging to the various orders of Varna and Ashrama then bathed in that place, where even the most grievous sinner can immediately be freed from all sinful reactions. Final verse. Next, the king put on new silken garments and adorned himself with fine jewelry. He then honored the priests, assembly officials, learned brahmanas, and other guests by presenting them with ornaments and clothing. Srila Prabhupada writes, the king not only dressed himself and decorated himself, but he also gave clothing and ornaments to all the priests and to the others who had participated in the yajnas. In this way, he worshipped them all. So yes, this is a very important feature of the sacrifice, to honor everyone present, and especially the priests, the brahmins who perform the sacrifice. So it's described in the Gita that the sacrifice, which is adakshinam, which is without proper remuneration and without distribution of prasad to everyone involved, in this way satisfying everyone, that yajna is in the tamasa, is in the mode of ignorance. So Yudhishthira, what really stands out, and it's also the next verses will describe, what really stands out of his character is just how cultured he is, how he's just able to perfectly exchange with everyone, with Krishna, with the Supreme Lord, with his relatives, with the priests, with the sages, with his senior family members, with the junior family members. He's like, Prabhupada says this, that the Vaishnava is a perfect type. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is kind of the epitome of that perfect gentleman. He just perfectly knows how to relate and satisfy everyone, even his enemies. That's why he's called, what is the name of Ajatashatru, one whose enemy was not born, because he was so gentle, he was so kind, he was so loving, and so he didn't keep any grudges. He was very forgiving. He was a very saintly person. So everybody actually loved Yudhishthira Maharaj. So yeah, he's described as shining like the Rajasuya sacrifice, and like the Rajasuya. You could almost read in the Gita. You could almost find the shloka there, among sacrifices and the Rajasuya sacrifice. Of course, Krishna doesn't say that among sacrifices. He's what?
Japa.
Yeah, Japa Yajna. That's even a higher sacrifice. But it was definitely a very, very grand celebration and sacrifice among many sacrifices. So, and Yudhishthira is described as appearing like the Rajasuya sacrifice personified. He appeared so shining, so grand, so amazing, so royal, like this kind of royal, divine, really like a divine king who appears like not a deity, who appears like a god on earth. So you can only imagine what kind of, seeing Yudhishthira Maharaj, that's an amazing scene. But really what's shown was not so much all the opulence and the spleens and all the grandeur, but it was his qualities, the beauty of his transcendental qualities. He honored anyone and everyone. Amanina, Manadena, he could give honor to everyone. He has such a liberal, kind heart. And so that is something very inspiring to aspire for, to become like a person like that who can really give honors everyone. So thank you so much. These are some thoughts here. On these verses. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class. I believe Bhima had his hand up at one point. Bhima, do you have a question?
Says let us see that.
That's it.
Haribol,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It's always a pleasure to listen to your classes because you have such a wide breadth of knowledge, especially classes on sacrifice and the proper consciousness to perform sacrifice. I just wanted to make a comment. I often wondered to myself how the women during these classes and during any classes feel when the description of beauty is about wide hips and beautiful faces and eyes and stuff like that. It seems like to me, it strikes me rather awry. This obviously was a society and society in general, and for a good reason because it's a reflection of Krishna. We prize beauty, physical form. I just wonder if you have in the purview very quickly any quotes or something about the idea of the fact that people come together or we are attracted by people who have a woman who would have intelligence or a special spirit or a certain purity. I know that there's always references to a woman's purity, but it's always about a woman's purity in regards to not having lain with another man. But I feel like it's this, and I use this word very cautiously because I'm a man, because I do believe in tradition, but sometimes it feels a bit patriarchal that this is the way men see the world rather than, and that this scripture is written that way, though we do, of course, we have wonderful 10th canto and Radharani's true power over Krishna, and we see, the wonder and beauty of the feminine. But I was just wondering if you could call upon any knowledge that you have of where you see a woman is adored for something other than wide hips and large breasts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. That was a very pertinent question. Yes. Actually, there's so many glorifications of ladies in the Bhagavatam. Here also, it's not immediately mentioned like their physical beauty. It's the shyness of their faces. It's the purity, innocence. Like many other qualities here are described as well, like feminine, which probably mentioned that actually, that kind of shyness, that that is a very, very attractive quality for.
What about boldness and courage? Who do we have in scripture that shows a bold and courageous woman?
Well, yes, we also see that. There's many other qualities. We see Rukmini, for example. Everything is set up for her to be married to Shishupal, but she's cunning. She's super intelligent. She writes a letter to Krishna. That letter it's an amazing letter actually. You can like analyze that letter like in so many ways. It's like it's a whole argument why Krishna has to marry her, and it's very intelligently composed. Like the whole argumentation is like really beautifully done. And then she gets it to a brahmana, and so she figures this whole thing out, when it has to be done, how it has to be done. She gives Krishna like clear instructions how to do it, and then it's described like actually Prabhupada gives this description. When Krishna comes, he kidnaps Rukmini, and then Krishna has to fight with all the princes. That's not something she does. But then the question is, who's driving the chariot? And Prabhupada says, Rukmini drove the chariot. The six Kshatriya ladies. He's also like, she could do that. So we see like also this display of like intelligence, cunning, strength, intense determination, not wanting to settle for anything but Krishna. Rukmini even instructs, like, why? He instructs all other women, like, why would you want to be attracted to any other man? It's just like a bunch of flesh and blood, and kind of gives the opposite of like some of the descriptions you hear.
Calls them all jackals.
What?
She says, do not let the jackals eat from this offering plate, which is myself to you, Krishna. Do not, you are a young lion, and these, like Shishupal, are simply jackals.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that, Prabhu, thank you very much. That's exactly the example I was looking for. I was didn't mean to set you up like that, but I just wanted to just throw that in there. Rukmini is a wonderful principle.
And also another example was Sita Devi. Because Sita Devi was so faithful and she had all these beautiful feminine qualities, but there's also that fierce determination of like not like Ravana attempted her with anything and everything, but that's absolute. She had such a strength of character that there was absolutely nothing which could entice her to from her devotion to Lord Ram. So we also see her character is glorified, her beauty and so on is there, but there. Ultimately, the most beautiful quality is the quality of pure devotion, unflinching devotion, and that's where the ultimate glorification has. That's where the ultimate strength is. But that's where the ultimate beauty is. That's where the ultimate, that's the ultimate quality of among all qualities. And this is all. That's where all the Sita Devi, the Gopis, Radharani, Rukmini. That's where they excel over everyone. So. Just a few thoughts there. Okay. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, it's darshan time. If you can, turn on your cameras.
Shri Radha Muni Raghav Sanchar Bhagavan Ki. Shri Radha Murida Gaurachandra Sri Bhagavan ki Shiva Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to the Afterglow. Ananda Vihari had to leave, so you're stuck with me. Does anyone have anything to add? Please feel free to speak. Sounds like Isaiah might have something to add.
He's singing. Sorry.
There we go. Oh, we lost it again.
Let me say something. Maybe not. Hare Krishna. I think since I've got my mic open, if I can just share a little bit,
Please.
just reflecting on what Bhima Prabhu was saying or asking. I don't know. I feel like I think I've had a probably ongoing hesitation about this very issue that he brought up, in terms of like perceiving the community, not the community, that's the thing, that the principles, I guess, the Shastra, or just I like the interpretation of it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm not informed or qualified enough to really have an opinion, but based on like what I've encountered, I haven't really totally been I haven't been assured that it's as, like I perceive a disparity, I guess, in gender, which is fine. I mean, it's normal. It's like kind of the way the world is. But the things that I hear that like he was, the speaker was saying about the different qualities that are attributed to prominent female personalities in Shastra, or you know, it's still not satisfying. You know, it's not somehow speaking to what I perceive in my own expectations of spiritual spiritual equality. Like, how could it not be, you know, especially if we do kind of place a feminine deity on the altar as a aspect of the divine. Why is it not why do I not perceive a presentation of all of the feminine qualities that I think are divine? You know, I don't know if that I don't know if I've I was finding it hard to
No, I,
string a
I
coherent thought together
appreciate
with
what you're saying.
like, for example,
Thank you.
child rearing, you know, like, I mean, I know that's mentioned in there, but like the actual physical process and the divinity within growing a child inside of your body and then giving a life, you know, that's not, I don't hear enough about, I don't hear much at all about that, actually, you know.
Can I speak to this?
Yeah, I'll mute myself.
Please speak, Bhima.
Thank you, Prabhu. I don't claim to have any breadth of knowledge. I've read not only the Bhagavatam for years, but there is a Bhagavatam for the feminine aspect. Vasudev would know the name of it. It's actually for the mother goddess, for Kali, but the not only the powerful aspect of Kali and Durga worship, but also the things that she's talking about, that women are representative, the universe is within us. As much as a man wishes to imitate through envy the Purusha principle of being the driving force or the procreative force within his little puny universe of his life, being the main stage, a woman also represents in a universe, the universe as womb, the universe as birth giver, the universe as the creation, the seat of creation from which all this has come to be. And we understand that there are only two things in this in this whole creation, spiritual or otherwise. This was stated by Radhanath Maharaj, and I'm sure Prabhupada said it too as well. Very simple principle. There's Krishna, and then there's Krishnas, and that which is Krishna's. And we come to understand that the feminine principle is within Krishna, and it's made manifest in Radharani, that they're non-different, but just two sides. So we do have to hearken back to a deeper principle of understanding that masculine and feminine principle as one, and the instead of a dichotomy between the two, but that it is a seamless being, and that the highest expression of that seamless being is love between the masculine and the feminine, and the ideal of that, the fountainhead of that, is Krishna and Radharani. And our position as tiny little servants is to facilitate that love and to reflect that love and to echo that love that is constantly being shown to us in the pastimes, whether it be Rukmini, who chose Krishna as her only, one and only, or Radharani, who even in separation, not for a moment, could take an inward breath or exhale an outward breath without thinking about Krishna. So that this masculine and feminine and men and women is a pale reflection of this wonderful beauty that we've been invited into, this wonderful culture, and that we have to go a little bit deeper than some of these superficial readings of the Leela of the denizens of heaven and their form. And remember that all form and all beauty and all attraction and all love is simply a reflection of the ideal love, which is Krishna and Radharani. And that we're here in some way, shape, or form. We've been given some sort of gift to help facilitate Radharani's love for Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for that. I would add, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj spoke on creation and used the phrase when referring to this divine feminine of Apara Shakti, or the accommodating chamber, which probably doesn't satisfy Karen your answer. But in that same discussion, he talks about Maya having these two characteristics of Pradhan and Prakriti, and Pradhan is the ingredient or series of ingredients to a certain extent, but Prakriti is this immediate cause that enables that ingredient to manifest, whether spiritually or ultimately into the material world. And so it's the creator and the creative is what enables the creator at all. So to a certain extent, we do see these meek, sometimes hypersexualized versions of women in the text, but the philosophy does not support a minimized view or a boxed in view of the divine feminine, which is by all accounts entirely equal and undivided from what is ultimately Bhagwan. So I know that we struggle with different aspects, particularly this one, because of our social differences, our cultural differences as humans. But to transcend those cultural differences is really to understand God in these, as Bhima described, separate in our minds, but entirely equal and entirely united features of one God, if that's helpful. Are you speaking? I didn't think you're muted. Anandi? You.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I don't want you all to be like mad at me for saying this, but in Shaivite and in Indian culture, Shakti is highly revered. She's not just a wide-hipped woman. They say without Shakti, there is no Shiva. She's Kundalini Shakti. Without her being awakened and rising to the chakra in your forehead and uniting with Shiva, there is no enlightenment. So Shakti is really highly revered. And when I heard this description that was read this morning, I wasn't perturbed at all because, like I said, there's a whole culture of worshiping Shakti. I mean, she's usually the person who kills all the demons, etc. So anyway, don't be mad at me. This is what I studied or still study. It's fairly highly revered. Like I said, without Shakti, there is no Shiva.
Hare Krishna. I don't think we could be mad at you, Anandi.
you.
Thank
But
you. Thank
yeah, I mean, there's a Kundalini Stavaha that I chant every day or try to, and it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. So, I would just say, I don't know. I don't know why they have a, short description of Shakti in some of the Shastra, but it's not common. I mean, in India, it's highly revered. Shakti is highly revered.
you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Looks like Bhima is trying to speak as well.
I just remembered it's the Devi Bhagavatam. It's actually called the Bhagavatam Devi.
The Devi
And
Bhagavata Purana, is that the
yeah,
text?
it's incredible. It's incredible, and it's all about what Prabhuji was just speaking about, the power of the feminine principle. That's why I brought out boldness and courageous, because these are actually feminine principles, at least amongst the Shakti. We tend to shy away from the Shakti. We have in Bhakti Yoga, we don't mess with that stuff because it's the material world in action. That's why we're always duped. But the just it's a respect, RESPECT. It's having a respect for the feminine, a really profound, like you said, Prabhu, a profound respect for the feminine principle, which is just as important in the dissemination of an understanding of what it's all about, what we're surrounded in Krishna's unfolding, in our heart. So I think it's a wonderful discussion, and I'd love to hear the Prabhujis speak up and speak their hearts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Karen, please.
Hare Krishna, if I could just say one more thing kind of along the lines, because it was specifically when you first mentioned it about the wide hips and the physical stuff. And I always think about, like, because it is, there's obviously cultural differences and things like that. But that, in modern feminism, we talk about how shaming women's bodies and covering women's bodies creates a culture of rape. And, we're kind of in this tradition covering, we don't, whatever, we try to cover our bodies, we try to be modest, and versus, like, I was living in Switzerland, and you can go to the lake and people can change right out in the open, and even like at a yoga class, not like anything weird or sexual, or nobody's bothered, or there's no tension. A sauna, a co-ed sauna, this idea that it's disturbing and I just don't see that playing out in all contexts, and why, rather than when the divine, what is it, in the Vaikuntha, it mentioned that the divine realm, people are hanging out, enjoying each other without getting perverse or getting aggressive or anything like that. When we can actually aspire to do that in the material world, and it's actually possible, and people are actually doing that, So there, that's it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you for all your input, dear devotees. Does anyone want to finish off the yajna with a nice Hare Krishna?
I think we do have.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Isaiah.
Hare Krishna.
I
Thank
want
you.
everyone to have a beautiful day. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all again tomorrow, hopefully.